Hello there, and welcome to the Sleep Porch. Tonight, we'll be exploring the strange and often surprising inner workings of the mind. It's easy to imagine your mental life as something you control, but psychology paints a very different picture. Your experience is built not by you, but a multitude of unseen forces that you are completely unaware of. If this content interests you, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support motivates us to continue creating more meaningful videos. These processes shape your attention, expectations, and emotions, and are all guided by a brain that we don't fully understand. That is where the wonder begins. The same mental tools that help you navigate daily life can also bend what you notice, reshape what you recall, and change how you feel. Under pressure, the world can feel smaller. In ease, it can open up. In groups, your thoughts may wander in directions you never intended.
Even when you're alone, the mind can shield you, convince you, and guide you, while making it feel like every choice was entirely your own. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here as well, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, there's nothing you need to do except rest. Let your body soften. Let your eyelids grow heavy, and allow the day to drift away as we explore these quiet wonders of the mind. Let's begin. Your mood subtly shapes what you notice and what you overlook. Mood is like a filter placed over a camera lens. It doesn't simply color how you feel. It shifts what your mind decides matters. When you're feeling low, attention can slide toward what feels absent, unfair, or threatening, while neutral details slip into the background. When you're feeling lighter, you may scan for opportunity, connection, and possibility, and the rough edges begin to blur. This happens fast, often before you form a single conscious thought about it. It can shape how you interpret a text message, how you read a stranger's face, and how you remember a conversation later. Two people can walk through the same day and come away with completely different evidence about what it was like. Psychology doesn't say your feelings are wrong. It shows how feelings steer perception like a hand on the wheel. People can feel strongly about certain memories that never happened. Confidence is a feeling, not a truth meter. A false memory can arrive with the same warmth, detail, and emotional punch as a real one, because the brain builds both with similar tools. Give someone a few believable cues, a family story, a familiar setting, and the mind may supply the rest. Later, the person might remember clothing, words, even smells that were never there. This is not lying. It is the imagination doing its job too well, then being misfiled as history. Researchers have shown how easily people can adopt memories suggested by authority, repetition, or social pressure, and how quickly those memories can gain vividness. The shocking part is how normal it feels from the inside. Certainty can simply mean a story fits, not that it happened. The mind hates uncertainty, so it invents stories to explain things. A gap in understanding can feel like an itch you need to scratch. When something surprises you, your brain searches for a cause. And if the real cause is hidden, it often creates one that feels satisfying. This is why people can give smooth reasons for choices they barely thought about, or explain habits they picked up without noticing. In certain neurological cases, this tendency becomes dramatic. Some patients confidently explain actions that were triggered by brain processes they cannot access, and the explanation still sounds perfectly reasonable. The mind is built to keep the story moving, because a moving story supports quick decisions. The danger is that an invented explanation can harden into belief. Once it feels like it makes sense, it starts to guide future choices, even if it was only a patch over uncertainty. Your attention is a spotlight that can easily miss things. Your senses take in far more than your awareness can hold. Attention solves this by choosing a narrow slice and turning it into your experienced world. It feels like you're seeing everything, but you are mostly seeing what the spotlight is aimed at. That is how an unexpected event can happen right in front of you and still slip by, especially if you are focused on a task. For a moment, your brain treats the unattended scene as background noise. Then later, when you're asked what happened, it supplies a confident answer anyway, because gaps feel uncomfortable. This isn't a personal failure, it's the design trait. A wide beam would overwhelm you. A narrow beam keeps you effective. The cost is that the obvious can become invisible, as if it never happened at all. Your beliefs can change how you experience pain, even without medicine. Pain is not a direct readout of damage. It is a protective decision the nervous system makes using signals from the body and expectations from the brain. If you believe something will help, the brain can turn down pain pathways through chemical systems that dampen threat and amplify safety. That is why the same injury can feel different in different contexts. An athlete may keep moving until the game ends, then suddenly feel the full force. A reassuring explanation from a clinician can reduce suffering, while a frightening one can make symptoms flare. This is not imagining pain away. It is biology responding to meaning. The brain constantly asks, how dangerous is this? Belief is part of the evidence it uses. In the right setting, confidence, trust, and predictability can genuinely reduce the volume of pain. Your brain predicts the future, then calls it perception. Perception is a negotiation between incoming signals and prior expectations. The brain is always forecasting what it is about to see, hear, and feel. Then it checks the forecast against the data. When the match is good, experience feels effortless. When the match is off, you notice surprise. This predictive style explains why noisy speech can still sound clear, and why a familiar face can be recognized in a blurry photo. It also explains illusions where expectation wins the argument. Your senses do not deliver certainty, they deliver hints. The brain turns those hints into a usable model of the world because hesitation can be costly. Most of the time, it works brilliantly. It gives you stability, speed, and meaning. The strange part is that you experience the final model, not the guessing process that built it. You can feel watched, even when nobody is there. The sense of being observed is tied to survival. For social animals, attention from others can mean danger, judgment, or opportunity. So the brain treats gaze as high priority. It scans for eye direction, posture, and subtle cues that might signal interest. In uncertain settings, that scanner can become overactive. A creak behind you, a shadow in peripheral vision, a half-heard voice, and your body may flip into alertness before you can explain why. The feeling is real, even if the cause is not. It is a false alarm system that prefers safety over accuracy.
This also shows up in crowded places, where you may suddenly look up and catch someone looking, because your brain is testing the room for attention. The social mind is tuned to detect eyes, and it sometimes detects them in empty air. Humans justify choices after making them, but not before. Often the decision happens first, and the explanation arrives second. Your brain weighs patterns, emotions, and habits at high speed. Then your conscious mind is handed an outcome that feels like a deliberate choice. Afterward, you build a story that makes the choice seem logical and consistent with who you are. This is why people can defend a preference they formed in seconds, and why they can become more attached to what they already picked. Experiments have even shown that if people are subtly led to believe they chose something they didn't, many will still explain that choice with confidence. The storyteller in the mind is persuasive. It protects self-respect and keeps life coherent. The trouble is that the story can hide what truly shaped the decision, which makes it harder to learn from it. Knowing this doesn't remove the effect, but it gives you a flashlight. Your brain edits reality constantly, and you rarely notice. Between your eyes and the world, there's a fast, invisible editing room. Your gaze jumps in quick hops, and your brain stitches those snapshots into one continuous scene. It corrects for your blind spot, smooths over motion, and steadies the world even while your eyes are moving. That is why a room feels stable, even though your visual input is full of gaps. It also means you can miss startling changes when your attention is elsewhere. A sign can swap, a person can vanish, a whole object can move, and your experience still feels seamless. The mind prefers a coherent story over a perfect record. What you perceive is not raw footage. It is a best guess that arrives already polished, so you can act without being overwhelmed. Memory is not playback. It is reconstruction every single time. When you remember, you are not pressing play on a stored video. You are rebuilding a scene from scattered pieces, like a stage crew assembling a set in the dark. The brain pulls in fragments of sound, image, and meaning, then fills missing parts with what usually makes sense. That rebuilding can be useful. It lets you extract lessons, and it helps you update old stories with new understanding. It also comes with a risk. Each time the memory returns, it becomes briefly flexible. Then it is stored again in its revised form. A conversation you had afterward, a photo you saw, even a single confident suggestion can slide into the reconstruction. Over time, the memory can drift without you feeling it drift. It still feels like the same moment, but it is a new version. You feel emotions in your body before you can name them. Your heart rate shifts, your breathing changes, and your muscles tighten or loosen. And only afterward does your mind decide what the feeling is called. This is because emotion begins as body data. Your brain is constantly reading signals from the gut, the chest, the skin, and the face. Then it tries to make sense of them in context. That is why the same physical sensations can become excitement before a first date or dread before a hard conversation. The body speaks in sensations, not labels. The label arrives when the brain matches the pattern to a story. This is also why you can feel unsettled without knowing why, and why naming a feeling can bring relief. Once the brain has a name, it can choose a response. Before that, It is just weather moving through you. Smells can unlock forgotten memories faster than photographs can. A scent can pull you backward in time with startling speed. One breath, and you are standing in a childhood kitchen or inside a corridor you have not thought about in years. Smell has a privileged route into the brain. It connects tightly with regions involved in emotion and memory, and it can trigger whole scenes without needing language. A photo often invites analysis. You look, you interpret, and you search your mind. A smell skips that process. It drops the memory on your lap, complete with mood. That is why certain perfumes feel like a person, and why the smell of rain on pavement can carry a whole season. It also explains why scent can be comforting and why it can be distressing. The brain stores smells as signatures of moments, and when the signature returns, the moment can return with it. People trust confident speakers even when they are wrong. Confidence sounds like knowledge, and the brain often treats it that way. A voice that moves smoothly, a story that lands cleanly, and a speaker who never hesitates can feel credible before a single claim is checked. In groups, this effect gets stronger. People look to confidence as a shortcut for deciding who to follow, especially when the topic is complex or the stakes feel urgent. The problem is that confidence can be produced by many things besides accuracy. Practice, status, charm, and even sheer boldness can generate the same signals. Meanwhile, a careful thinker may pause, qualify, and reflect, and those habits can be mistaken for weakness. This bias shapes workplaces, politics, and everyday conversations. It is one reason misinformation spreads so easily. The mind wants a guide who sounds sure, and it sometimes chooses certainty over truth. A single bad experience weighs more than many good ones. Your mind treats threat like a headline and safety like background music. One harsh comment can replay for days, while a dozen kind ones fade quickly. Not because you are ungrateful, but because your brain is built to learn from danger fast. If a hot stove burns you once, remembering it matters. This negative anticipation shows up in relationships, work, and how you see yourself. One awkward moment can turn into a defining narrative, while years of competence feel unremarkable. Even during good periods, the brain keeps scanning for what could go wrong, because avoiding harm matters more than collecting pleasure. The twist is that this bias can quietly warp your sense of reality. You might decide a place is unwelcoming because of a single sharp interaction, or believe you're failing because one day went poorly. Noticing the bias gives you a chance to rebalance the picture, slowly and intentionally. You can learn fears without ever encountering danger firsthand. Fear spreads easily in a way that makes evolutionary sense. You don't need to touch a snake to learn to keep your distance, and you don't need to crash to feel anxious in a car. Seeing someone else flinch, hearing a story told with fear, or growing up around anxious reactions can teach your nervous system what to avoid. The brain treats social information as evidence. If the people around you react as if something is dangerous, your body can begin rehearsing that danger too. Over time, the fear becomes a habit, and the original source can be forgotten. This is one reason phobias can appear without a clear cause, and why fears can spread through groups. It is also why calm can spread. When someone you trust moves through a situation safely, your brain collects that as evidence as well. Learning travels both directions. The more options you have, the less satisfied you feel. Choice sounds like freedom, but too many options can turn freedom into pressure.
When there are 10 paths, you can pick one and move on. When there are 100, the mind starts imagining all the lives you did not choose. You compare, you second guess, you keep scanning for a better deal. And that scanning makes the present choice feel provisional. Afterward, satisfaction drops because you can easily picture a different outcome that might have been perfect. This is why endless menus can make dinner harder, and why online shopping can leave you strangely empty.
The brain is not only choosing, it is also managing regret, protecting identity, and trying to avoid blame. More options increase the number of ways you could be wrong. Sometimes fewer choices do not limit you, they release you. They let the decision become a door you walk through, instead of a hallway you pace in. The brain treats social rejection like physical pain. Being left out can hurt in a way that feels almost literal, and that is not a metaphor. Social connection has been essential for survival across human history, so the brain treats rejection as a serious threat. When you are excluded, mocked, or ignored, your body can react with a tight chest, a sick stomach, and a surge of stress hormones, as if something is attacking you. This can happen even when you know it is not logical. The social brain is not arguing philosophy, it is tracking safety. Rejection can also sharpen memory. You may replay a conversation line by line, searching for the moment it went wrong, because the mind wants a fix. In extreme forms, people will change opinions, hide needs, or accept unfair treatment to avoid that pain again. Belonging is not a luxury for the brain, it is shelter. You crave closure so much that you accept shaky answers. Uncertainty is uncomfortable because it keeps the brain on alert. When you do not know what something means, your mind cannot relax its predictions. That lingering tension is why people leap to conclusions during confusing events. A clear story, even a flawed one, can feel like relief. This shows up in everyday life. You misread a pause as disapproval. You assume a missed call means something is wrong. You decide someone dislikes you because the alternative is not knowing. In bigger moments, the same craving drives rumors and conspiracy thinking, where a dramatic explanation can feel more satisfying than a messy reality. Closure turns anxiety into certainty, and certainty feels like control. The trap is that a premature answer can block learning. Once the mind settles, it stops searching. A useful practice is to hold a question open a little longer than your comfort prefers. That extra space is where accuracy often lives. You notice patterns even in pure randomness. Your brain is a pattern engine. It was shaped to detect meaning in clouds, free prints, and subtle shifts in behavior because missing a real pattern could be costly. The side effect is that you can see structure where there is none. You notice streaks in coin flips. You feel a sign in a coincidence. You sense intention in a string of events that simply happen to line up. This tendency can make the world feel magical, and it can also make it misleading. Casinos rely on it. So do superstitions, lucky rituals, and the feeling that you can predict what comes next after a few wins or losses. The mind loves a narrative arc, and randomness refuses to provide one. So the brain supplies it. Pattern seeking is not stupidity. It is a powerful tool used in the wrong environment. The skill is learning when to trust the pattern and when to test it. You remember endings far more than beginnings. When an experience is over, your brain does not store it like a timeline. It compresses it into a summary, and the final moments have outsized weight in that summary. That is why a movie can be solid for 2 hours, then feel ruined by a weak ending. It is why a trip can be remembered as wonderful or awful based on the last day. The ending acts like a signature, and the brain uses the signature to tag the whole event. This helps with learning because the outcome often matters most for future decisions. If the last bite made you sick, you avoid the food. If the last moment felt safe, you return. The twist is that this can distort your judgment.
You may stay in something that is mostly bad because it sometimes ends well, or dismiss something valuable because it ended awkwardly. Paying attention to this bias can change how you plan experiences and how you interpret them afterward. Tiny facial movements can reveal feelings people try to hide. Your face is constantly broadcasting, even when you think it is still. In tense moments, emotions can flash across the muscles around the eyes, mouth, and brow for a fraction of a second, then vanish as the social expression returns. These micro-expressions can show up when someone is surprised, disgusted, amused, or afraid, and they often appear before a person has time to manage them. You may have felt this without naming it. A smile that arrives a beat too late can feel off. A brief tightening around the mouth can change the whole meaning of a sentence. The fascinating part is that we read these signals automatically. Your brain is trained to track tiny movements because they help you predict people. Even when the words are smooth, the face can leak the weather underneath. You can mishear words clearly, yet still feel certain. Your brain does not wait the perfect sound. It grabs whatever reaches your ears, mixes it with context, and delivers a sentence that feels obvious. That is why you can hear your name in noise, or catch a phrase in a muffled announcement and feel sure you got it right. Sometimes the brain guesses wrong, but the guess still arrives with confidence because it is built to be usable, not hesitant. This is how man-dreams happen, where song lyrics become something else entirely, and people defend the mistaken version for years. It is also why misunderstandings in conversation can feel personal. You are not hearing raw audio. You are hearing an interpretation shaped by expectation, accent, stress, and what you thought was coming next. Certainty can be part of the illusion, and the illusion can sound perfectly crisp. Your name grabs your attention even in a loud room. In the middle of chatter, clinking glasses, and overlapping voices, one sound can cut through like a spotlight. Your name. Even when you are not listening for it, your brain is scanning the background for signals that matter. A name is one of the strongest. It can mean you are needed, praised, warned, or judged. So your attention system treats it as urgent. This is sometimes called the cocktail party effect, and it reveals something important. Attention is not only what you choose, it is also what your brain chooses for you. The remarkable part is that the rest of the noise was still entering your ears the whole time. It just was not promoted into awareness. Then your name appears, and the gate swings open. Suddenly, you realize you were hearing more than you thought. People copy each other's emotions without realizing it. Walk into a room where everyone is tense, and your body can start matching the mood before anyone speaks to you. Human beings are built for emotional contagion. We mirror faces, posture, tone, and timing. And that mirroring feeds back into feeling. A smile can lift you. A flat voice can pull you down. A burst of laughter can spread through strangers like a spark in dry grass. This copying is not fake. It is a social tool that helps groups coordinate trust, and stay safe. If everyone looks alarmed, the cost of ignoring it could be high. So your nervous system treats other people's cues as evidence. It also explains why one calm person can steady a group, and why conflict can escalate fast when anger bounces back and forth. Emotions are not sealed inside individuals. They move between bodies. Your brain spends energy avoiding effort even for simple tasks. Your mind is an energy manager. Thinking, planning, and self-control cost fuel. So the brain looks for shortcuts. That is why you can delay sending a message that takes 30 seconds, or avoid starting a task you already know how to do. It is not laziness in a moral sense. It is a system that learned to conserve resources. Habits are one of its favorite tricks. Once a routine is automatic, it runs with little effort, like a well-worn path. The trouble starts when the brain labels something as work before it even begins. Then you feel resistance, and the resistance feels like a signal to stop. A useful hack is to make the first step tiny, because the brain relaxes once motion starts. The strange truth is that effort often feels worst right before it disappears. We overestimate how much others notice us. Imagine walking into a room with a small stain on your shirt. It can feel as if everyone's eyes snap to it, as if the mistake is loud. Most of the time, people barely register it. They are busy managing their own worries, their own appearance, their own inner monologue. This is the spotlight effect, and it happens because you live at the center of your own experience. Your brain treats your actions as the main storyline, so it assumes others are watching the same way you are. They are not. They are looking outward from their own centers. This bias can make social life feel sharper and more unforgiving than it truly is. It can keep you from speaking up, wearing what you enjoy, or taking small chances. The sense of relief is genuine once you understand it. Most people are not judging you. They are busy being themselves inside their own minds. The first number you encounter can shape the judgment you make later. Numbers cling to the mind, even when you know they shouldn't. If a high price is mentioned first, the next price can feel reasonable by comparison. If a low number comes first, everything that follows can seem expensive, even when it's fair. This effect is called anchoring, and it works because the brain needs a reference point. Once that anchor is set, your mind adjusts away from it, but usually not far enough. The anchor can be completely arbitrary and still exert a pull. People have been influenced by random numbers they glimpsed moments earlier, with their later estimates drifting toward those numbers anyway. In real life, anchors show up in negotiations, salaries, online reviews, and even how we rate our own performance. The first figure becomes the reference frame, and reference frames are powerful. One of the best defenses is to choose your own anchor before someone else hands you theirs. We trust familiar ideas more than accurate ones. A claim can feel true simply because it feels known. When you hear an idea repeatedly, your brain processes it more smoothly, and that ease can be mistaken for correctness. This is why slogans work. It is why myths survive. It is why a lie can gain traction if it is repeated with confidence and rhythm. Familiarity is not proof, but it feels like it, because the brain equates ease with safety. New information can feel suspicious just because it takes effort to absorb. The unsettling part is that this effect can operate even when you are intelligent, careful, and well-informed. It is a basic feature of how the mind saves energy. The antidote is not to distrust everything familiar. It is to notice the feeling of ease, then ask for a second signal: evidence, sources, and consequences. Familiarity should be an invitation to check, not a reason to stop. People change opinions to fit the group they join. Belonging is powerful enough to reshape belief. When you enter a new group, you pick up its language, its humor, its heroes, and its taboos, often faster than you realize. Agreeing signals safety. Disagreeing risks friction or even exile. So the brain starts looking for reasons the group is right.
Over time, what began as social alignment can become genuine conviction because the mind prefers consistency. If your friends all share an opinion, your brain treats that as evidence that the opinion is normal, smart, and moral. This can happen in workplaces, fandoms, families, and politics. It is not always bad. Groups can pull people toward kindness, courage, and growth. The danger is that groups can also pull people toward extremes, because agreement becomes a badge of loyalty. A helpful habit is to keep one foot outside any identity and ask, would I believe this alone? Social media rewards outrage because brains love strong emotion. Outrage is a high-energy signal. It grabs attention. It simplifies the world into heroes and villains, and it triggers the urge to respond. Platforms notice what keeps people watching, and intense emotion keeps people watching. So, the system quietly amplifies posts that provoke anger, fear, and disgust, because those feelings drive clicks, comments, and shares. Your brain was built to treat threat as urgent, so it leans in even when the threat is only a headline on a screen. Over time, the feed can train you, teaching you which emotions earn social rewards. The cost is that outrage narrows thinking. It makes nuance feel like weakness. It makes enemies feel obvious. You start to confuse emotional intensity with importance. A useful approach is to treat your attention like a budget. Ask what your feed is trying to sell you and choose what kind of mind you want to live in. Your brain fills in blind spots with invented detail. Right now, there is a hole in your vision, and you live your whole life without seeing it. Each eye has a blind spot where the optic nerve exits the retina, so there are no photoreceptors there at all. If the world were delivered to you raw, you would notice a missing patch every moment. Instead, your brain paints over the gap using surrounding color, texture, and lines. It borrows from what is nearby, and it makes a seamless guess. That repair job is so convincing that you cannot feel it happening. It is not only a visual trick, it is a clue about perception itself. Your experience is partly data and partly construction. When the brain cannot access information, it does not leave a blank. It supplies a story that matches the scene, because blanks would be dangerous in a fast-moving world. Eyewitness testimony can be deeply confident, yet deeply wrong. A witness can sound calm, detailed, and absolutely certain, and still be mistaken about what they saw. In stressful moments, attention narrows, and memory later rebuilds the scene from fragments. Small details can shift, while the overall story still feels solid. Lighting, distance, and the speed of an event can warp what gets encoded. Later, questions can shape recall. A phrase like "the broken headlight" can quietly plant a detail that the witness then begins to remember as real. Lineups add another pressure. People often choose the face that feels most familiar, especially when they believe they must pick someone. The frightening part is that confidence can increase with repetition. Each retelling rehearses the story, not the truth.
That is why the legal system treats eyewitness evidence carefully and why good procedures matter. The human mind is persuasive even to itself. Your posture can influence how powerful you feel. Change the shape of your body and your mind often follows. When you stand tall, lift your gaze, and open your chest, you send a stream of signals back to the brain about readiness and status. When you fold inward, the brain receives a different message. It reads protection, caution, and reduced space. This does not mean posture magically turns you into a new person. It means body and mind are in constant conversation. Think about how you sit during a difficult call. The shoulders rise, the jaw tightens, and the voice can shrink. Now imagine resetting your stance before you speak. Feet grounded, spine long, breath low. The words often come out differently. People notice it too. Posture changes how you sound, how you look, and how you interpret your own performance. It is a simple lever that can shift the whole experience of a moment. Your expectations can improve performance even without extra practice. Sometimes the difference between stumbling and flowing is what you expect will happen next. When you believe you will do well, the brain allocates resources differently. Attention steadies, distractions fade, and your body is more likely to interpret arousal as readiness instead of danger. Coaches use this when they frame nerves as energy. Teachers use it when they communicate belief in a student's ability. Even your own self-talk can alter what comes out of your mouth in a high-pressure moment. Expectation is also social. If someone treats you as capable, you may take more risks, persist longer, and recover faster from mistakes. This effect is not mystical. It is the brain responding to a forecast. The mind prepares for the future it anticipates. If the forecast is success, your system can become more coordinated. If the forecast is failure, it can become cautious and fragmented. We misjudge how long emotions will last. A breakup can feel like it will echo forever. A wing can feel like it will keep you floating for months. Then time passes, and the emotional weather changes sooner than you predicted. This is a common forecasting error. When you imagine the future, you focus on the event itself, and you forget the countless ordinary moments that will arrive around it. You also forget how adaptable you are. The brain recalibrates. It learns the new normal. That ability is a gift, but it makes prediction hard. People overestimate how long anger will stay hot, how long embarrassment will keep burning, and how long joy will remain sharp. This matters for decisions. You might avoid a healthy risk because you overestimate future regret. You might chase a purchase because you overestimate future happiness. A useful question is simple. How did I feel after the last time something like this happened? Memory is imperfect, but it is often a better guide than imagination. Stress can sharpen memory, or it can erase it completely. In a crisis, time can feel slow, and certain details can become painfully vivid. A single sound, a color, a sentence. Stress hormones can tag moments as important, and the brain prioritizes storing them. That is one side of the story. The other side is blankness. Under extreme stress, attention can tunnel so tightly that large parts of an event never get encoded. Later, you may remember a flash, but not the sequence. You may recall fear, but not faces. Stress can also distort order.
the mind might stitch together fragments into something that feels continuous even when it is not. This split outcome is why two people can share the same emergency and remember it very differently. The memory system is not designed for courtroom precision. It is designed for survival learning. Sometimes that means recording a warning label in bright ink. Sometimes it means dropping everything else on the floor so you can act. People confess to things they did not do. It seems impossible until you picture the situation. Hours of questioning, sleep deprivation, the promise that confession will make it stop, the fear that resistance will make it worse. Under those conditions, the mind starts searching for escape, not truth. Some people confess to end the ordeal. Others begin to doubt their own memory, especially when investigators present false evidence or insist they know what happened. Over time, a person can start building a narrative that explains why they must be guilty. That narrative can feel real because the brain prefers a coherent story over unresolved chaos. Youth, anxiety, and suggestibility can increase the risk. So can authority pressure. This is why modern justice systems emphasize recording interviews, using better safeguards, and avoiding coercive tactics. A confession feels like the ultimate proof, but psychology shows it can be manufactured. The human mind can be pushed into agreement even against itself. The mind protects self-esteem by rewriting personal history. Most people carry an inner autobiography, and it is less like a vault and more like a living document. When your self-image changes, the past often gets edited to match. You remember your old choices as more sensible than they were. You reinterpret mistakes as lessons you always understood. You soften memories that clash with the person you want to be. This is not always dishonest. It can be stabilizing. A coherent self-story helps you function. It helps you trust your own intentions. But it also means you can become blind to patterns you need to change, because the mind retroactively paints them as reasonable. You might say you always knew a relationship would fail when you did not. You might recall being fearless when you were terrified. The benefit is continuity. The cost is accuracy. A helpful practice is to treat your self-story as a draft. It can guide you, but it should still be questioned. You can feel a phantom phone vibration that never happened. You reach for your pocket, and there is nothing there. No buzz, no notification. Yet the sensation felt unmistakable. This experience is common, and it reveals how the brain handles expectation. Your body learns patterns. The phone often vibrates against your skin. You often check it during certain emotions, like boredom or anticipation. Over time, the brain becomes primed to detect that signal, and it starts interpreting ambiguous sensations as a vibration. A muscle twitch, fabric shifting, a pulse in the leg. The mind would rather miss nothing than miss a message, so it makes a fast call. Technology did not create this tendency. It gave the tendency a new target. The deeper point is that perception is a hypothesis. Your brain is constantly guessing what a sensation means, then delivering the meaning as if it were the sensation itself. Once you notice this, the phantom buzz becomes less spooky and more like a peek behind the curtain. You can become emotionally attached to strangers you never meet. A voice in your headphones can start to feel like a companion. A creator you watch each night can feel familiar, even intimate. This is a parasocial bond, and it is powered by the same social machinery you use with real people. Your brain recognizes faces, tracks voices, and builds models of personalities.
Repetition strengthens the model. You learn their habits, their humor, their tells. You begin to predict what they will say. The bond can feel comforting, and it can even reduce loneliness because your nervous system responds to perceived connection. The difference is that the relationship is one-sided. The stranger does not know you exist, so the usual feedback loops of real friendship are missing. That can create a sense of closeness without the protections of mutual care. It can also make criticism feel personal, as if someone attacked your friend. Understanding this bond helps you enjoy it wisely. The feeling is real even if the relationship is not reciprocal. Romantic love activates the brain like addiction does. Early love can feel less like a choice and more like a gravitational field.
Your attention narrows, your thoughts loop, and ordinary things become charged with meaning. The brain's reward circuits light up around the person, and that reward does not arrive calmly. It arrives with craving, anticipation, and relief. Separation can feel like withdrawal, and small signals like a message, a glance, a shared song can hit like a dose. This is part of why love can override good judgment. The brain is treating the bond as a high-value goal, and it will push you toward it with urgency. It can also explain why rejection hurts so sharply, and why people chase closure even when it costs dignity. Love is not only poetry, it is motivation chemistry aimed at another human being, and it can be as intoxicating as it is beautiful. Kindness boosts mood more reliably than pleasers does. Pleasure often spikes, then fades. Kindness tends to linger. When you help someone, your brain gets more than a quick reward. It gets meaning, connection, and a sense that you matter in the world. That combination can steady mood in a way that a sweet smack or a new purchase rarely does. Think about the aftertaste of generosity. Holding a door, checking on a friend, giving honest praise. The moment is small, but it reshapes the story you tell yourself about who you are. It also changes how you view other people. You start scanning for opportunities to contribute, not just opportunities to consume. That shift can pull attention away from rumination and toward purpose. Even when life is stressful, a kind act can create a pocket of control. You cannot fix everything, but you can improve one moment for one person. And your nervous system notices. People value what they create more than what they buy. Build something with your own hands, and it starts to feel like it has a soul. A crooked bookshelf, a messy drawing, a meal that took effort. Even when it is not objectively better, it can feel more precious because it carries your labor inside it. Psychologists call this the IKEA effect. Effort becomes a kind of glue. It tells the brain this mattered enough to work for. That meaning inflates value. It can also change identity. When you create, you become the kind of person who makes things, and the object becomes proof. This is why people defend their home projects and why handmade gifts can feel powerful. Creation turns time into a physical symbol. It is not just an object, it is a story of persistence, problem-solving, and choice. Buying skips that story, so the attachment is often thinner. You crave fairness so strongly that you will punish cheaters at a cost. Fairness is not a polite preference. It can feel like a law of nature. When someone breaks it, many people will spend their own time, money, or status to make the rule visible again. In experiments, people reject unfair deals, even when it means walking away with nothing, because accepting the deal
feels like endorsing the violation. That reaction is emotional, fast, and bodily. Anger rises, and the mind starts calculating consequences. This instinct likely helped groups survive. If cheating spreads, cooperation collapses. Punishment signals this behavior is dangerous here. A fascinating twist is that it is not always about personal gain. People will punish cheaters who harmed someone else, even strangers, because the brain treats social rules as shared infrastructure. We don't live only among people, we live inside systems. When fairness breaks, the system feels threatened, and the urge to fix it can become intense. We gravitate towards simple stories, even when reality is complex. Your mind enjoys a clean plot, a clear villain, a single cause, a tidy lesson at the end. Complexity feels slippery and asks more effort than we like to give, so the brain tries to compress it into something manageable. That compression is useful in everyday life. It helps you decide quickly. It helps you explain things. It helps you teach a child why the stove is dangerous. But in the messy world of adulthood, simple stories can turn into traps. They wipe away multiple causes, mixed intentions, and slow systems that take years to show their effects. You begin to believe one factor explains everything, and you stop searching. This is why slogans take hold during crises. It's why gossip moves faster than nuance. A simple story travels easily through a group, and it feels satisfying to hear. The challenge is learning when simplicity is a helpful tool and when it becomes a blindfold. Good thinking often begins when you can tolerate a story that stays unfinished. Your brain treats losses as more urgent than gains. Lose 20 and you might celebrate. Lose 20 pounds of money and your body can tighten as if danger arrived. Loss carries a special alarm signal. It grabs attention, narrows focus, and pushes you toward action. Because in nature, losing resources could threaten survival. The result is a bias. People work harder to avoid losing something than to gain the same thing. They hold on to bad investments because selling would make the loss feel real. They stay in relationships that are shrinking because ending it confirms what was lost. Even time feels this way. A wasted hour can sting more than the pleasure of a free hour. This urgency shapes marketing, fear-based headlines, and the way we negotiate. It can also shape self-talk. A single mistake can loom larger than 100 quiet successes. Learning this bias does not erase it, but it gets you a chance to slow down and ask, is this loss truly urgent, or does it just feel that way? People can feel guilt for thoughts, but not for actions. Many people will torture themselves over an intrusive thought, while shrugging off a harmful behavior is not that bad. That mismatch is one of the strangest quirks of moral psychology. Thoughts feel intimate, as if they reveal the true self, so a dark or dull idea can trigger shame even when the person would never act on it. Meanwhile, actions can be softened with excuses, distraction, and selective memory. The mind treats inner life as identity, and identity feels sacred. This is why some people confess imagined sins or seek reassurance that having a thought means something terrible. It is also why moral growth can stall. If you punish yourself for thoughts you did not choose, you waste energy. If you excuse actions you did choose, you avoid responsibility. A healthier frame is to treat thoughts as weather. They pass through. Actions are what shape the world. Ethics lives most clearly in what you do, not in what briefly appears in your mind. Music can trigger hits through the brain's reward system. A song swells, a note lands,
and suddenly your skin prickles. You might get a shiver down the spine, a rush in the chest, or tears that arrive without warning. These chills are not random. They often appear when the brain predicts what is coming, then gets surprised in a satisfying way. A harmony resolves later than expected. A vocalist bends a note just off the edge of normal. A beat drops at the perfect moment. Your reward system responds with a surge that feels physical. It is as if the brain is saying, "Yes, this pattern matters." Chills can also be social. Anthems, choirs, and live crowds amplify them, because belonging and shared rhythm deepen emotion. Music is structured sound, but the brain experiences it as meaning. It can make you feel brave, nostalgic, or calm in seconds. Few things can reach the nervous system so directly without a single word. You feel more confident after agreeing with yourself out loud. Say a belief out loud, and it can start to feel more solid, even if nothing changed in the outside world. Speaking forces your mind to turn a vague feeling into a clear statement. Once it is spoken, it sounds like evidence. Your ears hear it, your body feels the commitment, and the brain registers consistency. That is one reason affirmations can help some people, and also why people double down during arguments. Repeating your position can make it feel truer simply because it is now familiar in your own voice. This effect can be useful when you are practicing a skill, setting boundaries, or reminding yourself of a decision you already made. It can also be dangerous when you are rehearsing a lie or hardening an opinion you never examined. The key is to choose what you reinforce. Your inner narrator is powerful. When you give it a microphone, it can build conviction quickly. Gratitude can reshape attention toward what is working. Gratitude is not pretending everything is fine. It is training the brain to notice support, progress, and stability alongside problems. Attention is limited, so whatever you repeatedly scanned for becomes your experienced world. If you scan "know me" for threats, the day becomes a minefield. If you practice noticing what is holding you up, the day gains texture. A working pair of lungs, a friend who replied, a meal that tasted good, a moment of focus when you expected none. Over time, this practice can change what stands out automatically. It does not erase grief or stress, but it reduces the sense that life is only loss. Gratitude can also make people more generous and resilient, because it reminds the brain it is not alone. The mind is always building a summary of reality. Gratitude changes the data going into that summary. It is a small habit that can shift the emotional climate of a life. People mistake familiarity for truth even after repeated lies. When a claim keeps showing up, it starts to feel like it belongs. Your brain recognizes the shape of it, the phrasing of it, the rhythm of it. That recognition can be mistaken for reliability, even when you already know the source is untrustworthy. Over time, the mind can lose track of where an idea came from, and it keeps the content while misplacing the warning label. This is why a rumor that is debunked can still spread. The correction fades, but the catchy line remains. It is also why repeating a false claim in order to argue against it can backfire, because it gives the brain more exposure to the sentence itself. Familiarity is a feeling, and feelings arrive faster than reflection. The skill is learning to treat that feeling as a cue to slow down, not a cue to nod along.
You can be influenced by a message you forgot hearing. The mind can absorb an idea without storing it as a memory you can retrieve on command. You might pass a headline, hear a phrase in a hallway, or catch a slogan in the background of a video. And later, you find yourself leaning a certain way without knowing why. The influence can show up as a preference, a suspicion, or a sudden sense that something just seems right. This happens because some learning is more like tuning than remembering. The brain updates its expectations based on patterns, and those updates do not always come with a story attached. You forget the moment, but you keep the tilt. That is why repetitive exposure can shape taste in music, attitudes toward a topic, or how trustworthy a face feels. It is also why persuasive messages aim for your attention when it is low. The best defense is to ask, where did this idea enter me? Especially when the conviction feels oddly effortless. The brain remembers unfinished tasks better than finished ones. Start something, then get interrupted, and the task can keep tapping you on the shoulder.
A half-written email, an unresolved argument, a puzzle you did not complete. The mind holds on to these open loops because they signal incomplete goals, and incomplete goals can matter for survival. Finishing a task allows the brain to file it away. Leaving it unfinished keeps it active, like an alarm that has not been switched off. This is why cliffhangers work so well. And while you suddenly remember an errand at midnight, it can be useful. The nagging can push you back to completion. It can also be exhausting, especially when the task is impossible to finish right now. A powerful trick is to create a clear next step. Write a single line that states what you will do next, and the brain often relaxes because it senses a path forward instead of a dangling thread. A warm drink can make you judge others as warmer. Hold a hot mug for a moment, and social impressions can shift in subtle ways. Physical warmth is one of the earliest signals of safety in human life. It is linked to being cared for, being held, and being protected from cold. Because of that deep association, the brain can borrow the feeling of temperature and apply it to a person. Someone may seem friendlier, more trustworthy, or more approachable when you are literally warmer. This does not mean warmth forces you to like everyone. It means your mind uses body cues as context when it makes quick social predictions. That connection can work in the other direction too. Coldness in the body can nudge impressions toward distance. The fascinating part is how ordinary it feels. You believe you are judging the person, yet your nervous system is quietly contributing extra information. It is a reminder that your social world is built from more than words and faces. It is built from sensations. Hunger makes you see the world as more threatening. When your body needs fuel, the brain shifts into a more defensive mode. Irritation rises more quickly. Neutral faces can look more unfriendly. Small problems feel sharper. Hunger is not just a stomach signal. It is an internal stressor, and it changes how the mind interprets what is happening around you. The body reads low energy as a vulnerability. If you are vulnerable, the environment becomes more risky. That is why a crowded store can feel hostile when you skipped lunch, and why a harmless comment can sound like an insult. The same effect can amplify impulsive choices, because the brain wants the fastest path to relief. This is also why it is hard to have a fair argument when one person is hungry. Their perception of threat is higher. The fix is surprisingly practical. Food, water, and time can lower the alarm volume, and the same world becomes easier to handle.
Sleep loss makes emotions louder, and it makes logic quieter. A tired brain has fewer resources for self-control and for careful interpretation. Small annoyances hit harder. Sadness feels heavier.
Worry grabs the microphone. At the same time, the systems that help you pause, reframe, and choose a measured response are less available. That combination can make you feel like you are being irrational, when what is really happening is a shift in brain balance. Sleep supports the ability to regulate emotion, and it helps the mind separate immediate feelings from long-term goals. Without it, the brain leans on faster, more reactive pathways. This is why people send texts they later regret, and why conflicts escalate late at night. It is also why problems seem more permanent when you are tired. In the morning, with rest, the same issue can look solvable. Sleep does not fix your life. It changes the lens you see it through, and that lens matters. Loneliness changes how your brain reads facial expressions. When you feel alone, the mind becomes more vigilant for signs of rejection, because rejection would deepen the danger.
That vigilance can change what you perceive in other people's faces. A neutral look can be read as disapproval. A brief pause can feel like dismissal. You start scanning for proof that you do not belong, and the scan itself can bias the result. This can become a feedback loop. Feeling lonely makes social signals seem harsher, and harsh signals make you withdraw, which increases loneliness. The tragedy is that none of this requires anyone to be cruel. The brain is trying to protect you, but the protection can misfire. Understanding the loop matters because it shifts the question from "what is wrong with me?" to "what is my mind doing under social stress?" A useful step is to seek small, low-pressure contact, a short conversation, a familiar voice, even brief eye contact. Tiny connections can soften the lens. Your brain uses shortcuts because it cannot compute everything. Every moment presents more information than your mind could ever fully analyze. Light, sound, movement, social cues, internal sensations, and memories all compete at once. To survive this, the brain relies on shortcuts, fast rules that usually work well. You guess what a shape is before you examine it. You judge mood from tone before you pass every word. You choose based on a few cues, not the full spreadsheet. These shortcuts make you quick, and they keep you from freezing in overload. They also create predictable errors. A shortcut can mistake a shadow for a threat, or a confident person for an expert. The fascinating part is that you often experience the shortcut as common sense. It feels like direct perception, not a decision. Psychology teaches you to spot the shortcut at work, then decide whether the situation deserves slower thinking. You cannot remove shortcuts, but you can choose when to challenge them. Confidence rises when people cannot check the facts. When no one can verify you in the moment, confidence becomes a performance tool. In a room where the information is specialized or the details are distant, the boldest voice can sound like the most informed voice. Certainty creates the feeling of leadership. And people often follow that feeling when they lack a way to test claims. This is why jargon can impress, why vague statements can sound wise, and why some predictions are delivered with theatrical certainty. The speaker senses that the audience cannot easily challenge them. So, the internal brakes come off. The same thing can happen inside your own mind. If you cannot check your assumptions,
you may feel oddly sure about them. Confidence is not proof. It is often a social signal, and it can be manufactured. A simple protection is to ask for specifics that can be tested. What would change your mind? What evidence would settle it? How you know and how you would know if you were wrong. Confidence that survives those questions is the kind worth respecting. Your first impression forms faster than a blink. Before you finish a single sentence, your brain has already built a rough sketch of the person in front of you. It reads posture, voice, facial tension, and timing. Then it makes a rapid prediction, safe or unsafe, friendly or cold, competent or uncertain. This is called thin slicing, and it can be impressively accurate in some situations, especially when the cues are honest and the stakes are familiar. It can also be unfair. Clothing, accents, and cultural differences can trigger snap judgments that have nothing to do with character. Once the impression forms, the brain starts looking for confirmation, and it filters later details through the initial frame. That is why first meetings matter so much, and why it is so hard to start over with someone after a rough introduction. The hopeful news is that first impressions can be updated, but usually only when you deliberately slow down and collect more data than the snap judgment used. You can learn skills while believing you are not improving. Improvement can hide in plain sight because your mind updates its standard as you get better. Early on, every small improvement feels huge. Later, the very same improvement feels ordinary because the task itself now seems easier. This is why people learning a language often feel stuck just before a breakthrough. Their hearing has become sharp enough to catch mistakes they once overlooked, so progress starts to feel like failure. Athletes experience this as well. Their timing gets better, so they measure themselves against stricter standards. Beneath the surface, the brain is still adjusting. It is reinforcing pathways, cutting down wasted movement, and speeding up decisions. Some of these changes only appear when pressure increases. You might respond to a surprise more smoothly or bounce back faster after a mistake, and you label it luck. Psychology reminds us that skill can grow quietly, especially when your attention stays fixed on what still needs improvement. Anxiety can mislead you into confusing possibility with probability. An anxious mind treats could happen as likely. It searches for danger, then highlights anything that seems to confirm the warning. A strange sensation turns into a serious illness. A delayed reply becomes rejection. A small mistake becomes catastrophe. The brain is not doing math. It is trying to prevent pain, and it assumes the safest plan is to prepare for the worst. That preparation can feel responsible, even noble, but it often comes with a cost. Your attention narrows, and your body stays on standby. You start living as if the threat is already here. One way to loosen the grip is to ask a different question. Not, is this possible, because many things are possible. Ask, how often does this happen? And what would I expect to see if it were true? Anxiety speaks in vivid images. Probability speaks in patterns and base rates. Learning to separate them can change everything. People become more extreme after talking with like-minded friends. Put people who already agree into a room, and the center of gravity often shifts. Conversation becomes a contest of loyalty. Each person offers a slightly stronger version of the shared belief, and the group rewards the boldness with attention and approval. Over time, the average position slides toward an extreme, not because anyone planned it, but because agreement feels good.
Doubt feels like betrayal. The group also collects arguments. Someone mentions a new angle, another adds a dramatic example, and soon the belief feels backed by a mountain of reasons. Meanwhile, counterarguments are absent, so the mind stops practicing restraint. This is called group polarization, and it shows up everywhere: friend circles, online communities, and political movements.
It can fuel courage for good causes, and it can also fuel cruelty. The antidote is not constant conflict. It is exposure to respectful disagreement and the ability to stay curious while staying connected. You rate your ideas higher when you generated them quickly. An idea that arrives fast can feel like lightning. You get a rush of clarity, and the speed itself becomes evidence that it must be brilliant. The brain loves fluency. When something comes easily, it feels more true, more elegant, and more worth defending. This is why people fall in love with their first draft, and why a clever line can outshine a careful plan. Speed also creates ownership. If the idea feels like it sprang from you, it gains a glow. Later, even weak points can be ignored because the original spark felt so convincing. This is not a flaw unique to certain people. It is a normal bias. One helpful practice is to treat fast ideas like fresh bread. They smell amazing while they are warm. They still need time to cool before you slice them. Testing an idea does not kill creativity. It turns a spark into something you can trust. Being observed can improve performance, or it can ruin it. There are moments when an audience makes you sharper. Your posture lifts, your focus tightens, and your actions become crisp. That effect often appears when a task is well learned. The presence of others increases arousal, and the extra energy helps routines run smoothly. But observation can flip into the opposite when the task is new, complex, or personally loaded. Then attention turns inward. You start monitoring yourself. You worry about mistakes, and the worry steals mental space. A musician may overthink finger placement. A speaker may lose their rhythm. The same eyes that can lift, you can also freeze you. This split explains why some people thrive on stage and struggle in practice, while others are the reverse. The goal is not to eliminate the effect. It is to use it. Rehearse until key actions are automatic. Then treat the audience as a source of energy rather than a judge. People smile in their voices. Even on the phone, a smile changes the shape of your face, and that changes the sound you make. The cheeks lift, the mouth opens differently, and the voice carries more brightness. You can hear it even when you cannot see it. This is why a warm greeting feels different from a forced one, and why customer service scripts can sound hollow when the speaker is not truly engaged. Your brain is tuned for these cues because tone reveals intent. A friendly voice signals safety. A tight voice signals tension. Even a small shift can change how a sentence lands. This also works the other way. If you smile while you speak, you may feel a slight lift inside because the body feeds information back to the mind. It is a loop. Voice expresses emotion, and it can also shape emotion. That is why a gentle laugh can ease an argument, and why a cold tone can cut deeper than harsh words. The brain loves stories because stories compress complexity. Real life is messy. Causes overlap, motives mix, and outcomes unfold over time. A story takes that mess and turns it into a shape you can carry. It gives you a beginning, a turning point, and an ending that seems to explain why things happened. That compression is powerful. It helps you remember, teach, and predict. It also creates meaning, and meaning is one of the mind's favorite currencies. You can learn a moral from a story faster than from a spreadsheet. You can feel empathy for a character faster than for a statistic. The danger is that stories can oversimplify. They can flatten people into heroes and villains, and they can hide slow systems that do not fit a clean plot. Still, the love of story is not a weakness. It is a tool. When you understand the tool, you can ask what the story leaves out, and you can choose narratives that make you wiser instead of narrower. A simple label can change how a person behaves. Call someone smart, and they may start avoiding situations where they could look wrong. Call someone trouble, and they may start acting like they have nothing to lose. Labels are not just descriptions. They are social signals that shape identity. Once a label is applied, people often look for evidence that it fits because consistency feels safe. The labeled person may do the same. A child praised as a helper may reach for helpful actions to stay aligned with that role. A student told they are bad at math may disengage before they even try, and the disengagement becomes proof. This is why good teachers praise effort, strategies, and persistence rather than fixed traits. Labels also shape how others treat you. If a group expects kindness, they notice kindness. If they expect selfishness, they notice selfishness. The label becomes a filter, and the filter becomes a self-fulfilling pattern. Choosing labels carefully as a form of influence. You mimic accents without noticing because you want connection. Spend time with someone, and your speech can start drifting toward theirs. The rhythm changes, the vocabulary shifts, and even the melody of sentences can align. This is not mockery for most people. It is coordination. Humans are social animals, and matching is one way we signal, "I am with you." It can happen with laughter, posture, and pace of breathing. And it happens with speech, too. This is why you might pick up a friend's catchphrase or sound different after a week with family. It is also why people adjust their tone in new environments. The brain is constantly negotiating belonging. Sometimes the mimicry is subtle enough that you hear it only on the recording. Other times it is obvious and you feel embarrassed. The key is intent. Most mimicry is an unconscious bid for harmony, not a performance. It shows how deeply the need for connection runs all the way into the muscles of the mouth. People remember emotional moments as sharper than they truly were. When a moment is charged with emotion, it feels like it burns itself into memory. People often describe these memories as vivid, as if they can replay every detail. Yet, vividness is not the same as accuracy. Emotion increases the sense of clarity, and it can strengthen certain central elements, but it does not guarantee a perfect record. The mind may keep the feeling in the headline, and it may rebuild the surrounding details later. That can create a memory that feels razor-sharp, even when parts of it shifted over time. This matters because emotional memories guide future decisions. They shape what you avoid, what you chase, and what you believe about yourself. If a humiliating moment feels crystal clear, you may treat it as proof that you are unsafe in public. If a triumphant moment feels flawless, you may overestimate what caused it. A useful approach is to respect emotional memories as important signals, while staying humble about their details.
The placebo effect can create real, measurable changes in the body. A sugar pill can lower pain for some people, and the body is not pretending. Expectation can trigger the brain's own pharmacy, releasing chemicals that change how signals are processed. Pain is especially responsive because it is partly a prediction about threat. When you believe relief is coming, the nervous system can turn the volume down. Placebo effects also show up in movement C Parkinson's studies and in symptoms like nausea and fatigue. The key is that belief is not magic. It is information. Your brain uses it to decide what to prioritize, what to ignore, and how strongly to respond.
That is why a confident clinician, a familiar ritual, and a believable explanation can all matter. The SIBO does not mean fake. It means mind and body are linked tightly enough that meaning becomes biology. You can feel pain in the rubber hand you accept as yours. Picture your real hand hidden from view and a rubber hand placed where your hand should be. If both are stroked in the same rhythm, many people start to feel the touch on the fake hand. The brain is solving a puzzle. What belongs to me? Vision and timing often win. Once the rubber hand is treated as part of the body, threatening it can produce a real flinch, a spike of stress, and in some cases, a sense of pain. This illusion is not a party trick. It shows how body ownership is constructed, not guaranteed. Your brain maintains a map of you, and it updates that map using whatever evidence seems most consistent. This helps explain phantom limb pain and why tools can start to feel like extensions of the body. The feeling of mine is a prediction that can be rewritten. Your brain reacts to imagined danger much like it does to real threats. Your body can surge into panic during a frightening movie, even while you know you're safe. Heart rate climbs, muscles tighten, breathing becomes shallow. The brain's alarm systems respond to meaning, not to logical certainty. If something looks like danger, the body prepares. Worry triggers the same response. An anxious thought can activate the very same stress pathways as an actual event, because the brain mentally rehearses the situation as if it could occur. This is helpful when imagination supports planning. It becomes draining when the mind gets stuck, looping over threats that never come. Your nervous system doesn't reliably distinguish between a tiger standing in front of you and a tiger imagined in your mind. The deeper insight is that safety is something you feel, not simply something you know. Learning calm often means changing the story your brain keeps playing, rather than just telling yourself everything is fine. People also tend to prefer familiar faces, even when they can't consciously recognize them. Show someone two strangers and they may feel drawn to the one they've seen before, even if they can't explain why. A face that is merely familiar can feel safer, warmer, and more trustworthy. The brain treats familiarity as a survival cue. I have seen this and I lived. What makes this eerie is that the familiarity can be created in tiny doses. A brief glimpse, a background photo, even a face that resembles people you know can shift preference without conscious awareness. This is one reason celebrities can seem likable before they speak. It is also why first impressions can change after repeated exposure, even without new information. Your mind keeps a quiet ledger of what it has encountered. When the ledger says known, your emotions often soften. Familiar does not mean good, but your brain often treats it that way because unknown can carry risk. You can crave something more after you already own it.
You buy the thing, and instead of satisfaction, you feel a new itch. Now you want the upgraded version, the perfect accessory, the next model. Ownership can sharpen desire because it changes what you notice. Once something is yours, your brain tracks its flaws, compares it to alternatives, and imagines how it could be better. Marketing leans on this by showing you an improved future self, and your mind starts chasing completion. There is also a twist of identity. When something becomes part of your life, it becomes part of your story. So improving it can feel like improving you. This is why hobbies can become gear quests, and why home projects can expand endlessly. Wanting more is not always greed. Sometimes it is the brain trying to close a loop it created. I invested in this, so it should feel perfect.
Recognizing that loop can restore contentment. Repeating a lie can make it feel like a memory. Say something often enough, and it starts to gain the texture of truth inside your mind. Repetition builds fluency. The sentence becomes easy to retrieve, and ease can feel like evidence. Over time, you may forget where the claim came from, but you remember the claim itself. Then it starts to resemble a personal recollection. I remember that being true. This effect could also happen with stories you tell about your own life. A simplified version becomes the version you can access quickly, so it replaces the messier original. The danger is that repetition can turn wishful thinking into confidence. It can also turn accusations into certainty, especially in groups that rehearse the same narrative together. One safeguard is to separate the story from the source. Ask when you first heard it, and what you would accept as proof either way. Memory can be shaped by rehearsal, even when the rehearsal is false. The brain treats uncertainty as stress even without danger. Not knowing what will happen can make your body tense even when nothing bad is occurring. Uncertainty keeps the brain's prediction systems on high alert. If you cannot forecast, you cannot fully relax. That is why waiting for results can feel worse than getting bad news. At least bad news is clear. Your mind can plan. With uncertainty, planning stays suspended, and the nervous system keeps spending energy. This can make people chase answers, even weak ones, because any explanation reduces the load. It also explains why routines feel comforting. Predictability is a kind of shelter. The fascinating part is that uncertainty can be created by small things: an unread message, an ambiguous tone, a vague schedule. Your brain keeps checking for updates, like a device refreshing a page. Learning to tolerate uncertainty is a major psychological skill, because many parts of life cannot be resolved quickly. Calm often begins when you stop demanding perfect certainty from the next moment. People see what they expect to see, especially under pressure. Under stress, the brain leans harder on its predictions. It has less time and less bandwidth, so it uses familiar templates to interpret what is happening. That can be life-saving when the template is accurate. It can also create errors when the situation is unusual. A person expects hostility, and they read a neutral look as a threat. A driver expects a green light, and they miss a warming sign. Pressure narrows attention and speeds interpretation, so expectation fills the gaps. This is why training matters. In emergencies, practiced patterns can guide action when thinking is slow. It is also why stereotypes are so dangerous. They are expectations that can distort perception when you are rushed or tense. The strange part is how convincing it feels. You experience the result as obvious reality. Psychology teaches you to ask, what else could this be? That question can reopen the scene and let new data in. You can be persuaded by someone you dislike if they feel similar. You might think persuasion is about liking, but the mind also cares about shared identity. If someone signals that they understand your world, your values, or your struggles, your defenses can soften, even if their personality annoys you. Similarity creates the feeling of one of us, and that feeling increases trust in the message itself. You might argue with their style, but accept their framing. This is why effective persuaders mirror language, reference common experiences, and use inside jokes. They are building a bridge before they ask you to cross. The unsettling part is that this can be used for good or for manipulation. A scammer who matches your background can feel safe. A demagogue who echoes your frustrations can feel honest. A practical safeguard is to separate warmth from truth. Ask what evidence supports the claim, not whether the person feels familiar. Similarity is a social cue, not a guarantee. Nostalgia reduces loneliness, and it strengthens motivation. A memory of belonging can act like an emotional blanket when you feel isolated. Recalling a time you were loved, included, or understood can reduce the sting in the present. Nostalgia does not only look backward, it can also push you forward. It reminds you that connection is possible and that you have survived hard seasons before. People often become nostalgic during transitions because the mind is trying to stabilize identity. This is who I have been, and I am still that person. That stability can increase motivation, making you more willing to take social risks, pursue goals, or return to meaningful routines. Nostalgia can be triggered by music, places, scents, or even an old photo, and the effect can arrive quickly. The key is balance. Healthy nostalgia is not escaping the present. It is borrowing strength from the past to face the present with more courage. People can become kinder when they feel awe. Stand beneath a sky packed with stars, or watch a rocket rise into the clouds, and something in the self can loosen. Awe is the feeling of encountering something bigger than your usual frame, and it can shrink the sense of me versus the world. In that state, people often become more generous, more patient, and more willing to help. It is as if the mind temporarily steps back from status, scorekeeping, and small irritations. Researchers link awe to a small self-experience, where personal concerns feel less central and connection feels more natural. You can see it after a powerful concert, a cathedral visit, or a mountain view that steals your words. Awe does not solve life's problems, but it can change the emotional posture you bring to them. For a moment, you are reminded you belong to something vast, and that reminder can soften how you treat others. Small rituals can reduce anxiety, even when they are meaningless. A ritual can be as simple as tapping the desk before an exam, stirring tea the same way, or tying your shoes in a particular sequence. The action itself may have no causal power, yet it can still calm you. That is because anxiety is partly a feeling of unpredictability, and ritual creates a pocket of order you can control. The brain reads repetition as stability. It also focuses attention on steps which can interrupt spirals of worry. Athletes do this before a free throw. Performers do it before a show. And many people do it before hard conversations without even realizing. The ritual becomes a bridge from uncertainty to action. It does not need to be logical to be soothing. The mind is not asking for proof. It is asking for a signal that you are prepared. A consistent sequence can provide that signal, and the body can settle enough to do what matters next. You bond faster with someone after sharing a secret. A secret is social currency because it signals trust. When you reveal something private, you are handing someone a piece of vulnerability, and you are betting they will hold it safely. That bet can accelerate closeness, since it creates a shared boundary between us and the rest. The brain notices the risk, and it treats the other person's response as evidence about their character. If they respond with care, the nervous system relaxes and the bond tightens quickly. It can feel like friendship formed overnight. This is why late-night conversations can feel intense, and why people can connect deeply on long trips or during stressful events. There is a caution here too. A fast bond can outpace real knowledge of someone's reliability. Offering something small first can be a smart move, then allowing trust to grow its way toward deeper truths. Even so, the underlying mechanism is remarkably strong. A shared secret can turn strangers into allies within a single conversation. Laughing together increases trust between people. Shared laughter works like a social handshake that happens inside the body. When people laugh at the same instant, their timing syncs, their breathing falls into alignment, and their faces begin to mirror one another effortlessly. The brain interprets this coordination as safety. We understand the same cues. We react in the same way. That shared rhythm can lower defenses quickly, even between people who have never met before. In groups, laughter also acts as a kind of glue. It signals that the environment is safe enough to loosen up, and relaxed people are more willing to cooperate. This is why humor can dissolve tension, and why inside jokes create instant belonging. It's also why a tense room can shift the moment someone breaks the ice with humor that truly lands. Laughter does not require deep agreement. It requires shared timing. Once that timing exists, trust can begin to grow. In a way, laughter is a tiny rehearsal of harmony, and the mind treats it as meaningful. Being ignored can activate the brain like a physical injury. When someone looks through you, interrupts you repeatedly, or pretends you are not there, it can sting with a surprising intensity. The body reacts as if something is wrong in a concrete way. This makes sense when you remember that humans evolved in groups, and exclusion could mean danger. The brain treats social disconnection as a threat to survival. So, it recruits alarm systems that also respond to bodily harm. That is why being ignored can bring a tight chest, a hot face, and a surge of agitation. It can also make people behave in extremes. Some withdraw to avoid more pain, while others lash out just to be noticed. Even small moments can matter. A message left unread, a greeting not returned, a meeting where your idea is dismissed. The mind starts scanning for the reason because it wants to repair the bond. Understanding this reaction does not make it vanish, but it can reduce shame. The hurt is not weakness. It is biology doing social math. The mind struggles to imagine how different it could have been. Once something happens, it becomes the path you can see, and alternatives fade like unlit roads. The brain has a hard time holding multiple realities at once, so it treats the actual outcome as inevitable. Of course it turned out this way. This is hindsight bias, and it makes the past feel more predictable than it really was. It also shapes regret.
You might fixate on one tiny choice that changed everything, even though many outcomes were possible and you could not have known. At the same time, you may underestimate how easily the story could have gone another way, which can make you judge yourself and others too harshly. The mind prefers a clean narrative, and inevitability is the cleanest narrative of all. A helpful practice is to picture a few realistic alternatives, not fantasy endings. That exercise restores humility about chance, context, and limited information. It can also restore compassion because it shows how many lives branch from a single moment. People give better advice than they follow themselves. Ask someone what a friend should do, and you may get a clear, balanced answer. Ask what they should do in the same situation, and suddenly the path is foggy. This happens because distance changes thinking. When the problem belongs to someone else, you can see structure instead of threat. You notice the pattern, you weigh trade-offs, and you are less tangled in ego. When the problem is yours, your identity is on the line. Fear of embarrassment, fear of loss, and fear of being wrong can crowd the mental space where good judgment lives. The advice might still be sitting inside you, but you cannot access it cleanly. That is why imagining a friend in your position can be so powerful. It creates psychological distance, and distance invites wisdom. It can also reveal what you truly believe before your emotions negotiate it away. The strange truth is that you may already know what to do, and your job is to make your own situation feel as solvable as someone else's. You remember insults longer than compliments, even from strangers. A careless remark can echo for years, while sincere praise slips away by dinner. The mind gives insults extra weight because they carry information about social threat. A compliment feels pleasant, but an insult can signal danger to belonging, reputation, and safety. The brain stores it as a warning label. It replays the moment to extract meaning, and each replay refreshes the sting. Even when the speaker was wrong, the memory can keep its power because it attached to emotion. Compliments often do not trigger the same urgency. They feel nice. Then the mind moves on, since safety does not demand action. This bias can shape self-image. A single jab can start a story like, "I am awkward," while dozens of positive experiences fail to counterbalance it. One way to fight this is to treat compliments as data, not decoration. Repeat them, write them down, and let them register. Otherwise, your memory may curate a world harsher than the one you live in. Your brain prefers quick certainty over slow accuracy. A fast answer feels like relief. It ends the tension of not knowing, and it lets your mind move forward. Slow accuracy, on the other hand, asks for patience. It asks you to hold competing possibilities, gather evidence, and admit uncertainty. The brain often resists that, especially when you are tired, stressed, or socially pressured. That is why snap judgments can feel obvious, and why first explanations can become fixed beliefs. Quick certainty also protects identity. If you decide you are right, you do not have to feel confused. The cost is that early conclusions can be built on thin data, and thin data can produce confident mistakes. You see this in arguments that escalate, in rumors that spread, and in decisions made under time pressure. The skill is learning when a situation deserves slower thinking. A useful cue is emotional heat. The more charged you feel,
the more likely your brain is reaching for certainty as comfort. In those moments, a pause can be a form of intelligence. People can be hypnotized into feeling real sensations. Hypnosis is not mind control, and it is not sleep. It is a focused state where suggestion can strongly shape experience. Under hypnosis, some people can feel a touch that is not there, or lose sensation in an area of the body as if a switch flipped. Others can experience heat, heaviness, or vivid imagery with surprising intensity. This works because perception is not only incoming signals, it is also interpretation. Hypnosis narrows attention, reduces competing thoughts, and increases responsiveness to a guiding narrative. For pain, this can be especially striking. Suggestions can change how pain signals are processed, and some people show measurable reductions in discomfort. Not everyone is equally hypnotizable, and it is not a magic trick that works on demand. Still, it reveals something profound. The brain can generate sensation from meaning alone when conditions support it. That does not make the sensation fake. It makes the mind a powerful composer, capable of turning words into felt reality. Your inner voice shapes how you experience the world. That voice in your head is not just commentary, it can steer perception. When it narrates events as threats, your body tightens and your attention hunts for danger. When it frames the same events as challenges, you often feel more capable, even if nothing outside changed. The inner voice also influences memory. If you tell yourself, "I always mess this up," your mind starts collecting examples that fit and ignoring the moments that do not. In stressful situations, the voice can become a director, giving instructions, predicting outcomes, and sometimes interrupting with harsh judgments. Athletes and performers often train a different script, one that gives clear cues instead of criticism. Even a small shift from "I can't" to "I'm learning" can change what you attempt next. The fascinating part is that you usually treat the voice as you, but it is also a tool. You can shape its tone, and that can shape your life. The words you use can change what you remember. Language can reach back into the past and edit its edges. If you describe a crash as a smash, your memory may later include more speed, more damage, and more drama than if you called it a bump. This happens because memory rebuilds using meaning, and words supply meaning. The label you choose becomes part of the reconstruction, so the event begins to match the label. This is why arguments can get weird over time. Two people remember the same conversation differently because each person narrated it with different words afterward. One retell as, "I was attacked." The other retells it as, "I was being honest." Those narrations do not just report memory, they reshape it. Even your private journaling can have this power. Harsh language can sharpen a wound. Precise language can soften it by making the story more accurate. Words are not only for communicating with others, they are for communicating with your own brain. People judge moral choices differently when tired. When you are worn down, your moral reasoning can shift without you noticing. The brain has less energy for patience, nuance, and perspective-taking. So judgments can become more rigid. You may feel less forgiving, more suspicious, and more focused on immediate rule-breaking than on context. At the same time, self-control can drop. You might break your own standards, then judge yourself harshly afterward. This is one reason late-night arguments escalate. A tired mind reaches for fast conclusions, and it struggles to hold two truths at once.
They hurt me, and they might not have meant it. Fatigue can also reduce empathy because emotional regulation takes effort. None of this means tired people are immoral. It means moral decisions are not made by a floating intellect. They are made by a brain inside a body. Rest changes the brain's capacity, and capacity changes the way choices look. We underestimate how often we change our minds. Most people like to feel consistent, so the mind quietly edits its own history. Asterisk. You update an opinion, then later you remember that you always thought that because that story feels smoother. This can happen with politics, relationships, and personal identity. You change your taste in music, your view of a friend, your beliefs about health. Then you treat the shift as obvious and inevitable. The unexpected truth is that minds are not fixed. They shift with new information, new experiences, and new social environments, and they do so more often than we like to admit. This is not a flaw, it is adaptation. The trouble comes when you deny the change, because then you lose the opportunity to learn from it. You can't ask, "What changed my mind?" if you insist it never changed. Paying attention to these shifts can also make you more patient with others. If you've changed many times, it's likely they are changing too. The brain adjusts to a new normal with surprising speed. A new routine can feel overwhelming on the first day, then oddly ordinary a week later. The mind is designed to recalibrate, because living in constant emotional intensity would be exhausting. After a move, a breakup, a new job, or a new limitation in health, the mind starts forming new expectations. It learns the new rhythms of the day and stops reacting as if the change is an ongoing emergency. This can be reassuring, but it can also be risky. People can adapt to poor treatment and begin to label it as normal. They can live with constant stress and forget what calm felt like. On the brighter side, adaptation means you can recover from setbacks more than you think. The first days often feel like proof you cannot handle it. But those days are the brain doing a major update. It is rewriting predictions about what life is. Once those predictions change, the same reality can feel lighter. Not because it got easier, but because your nervous system stopped treating it as brand new. Anger feels powerful, but it often hides fear. Anger can surge like fuel. It makes you feel certain, direct, and ready to act. That power is part of why it can be addictive. Yet underneath, anger is often guarding something more vulnerable. Fear of being disrespected, fear of losing control, fear of being hurt. Again, anger steps in because it is simpler to carry than fear, and it can create distance from pain. In conflict, this matters. If two people trade anger, they often miss the real issue that started it. A small fear gets buried, then it grows, then it explodes as rage. Anger can also be a protective mask in public. People often feel safer being mad than being scared because anger looks strong. The twist is that strength and clarity are not the same. Anger can point to a boundary, but it can also distort judgment. Learning to ask, "What am I afraid of right now?" can turn heat into insight. People treat silence as disagreement, even when it is thoughtfulness. Silence can be misread because the brain dislikes ambiguous social signals. When someone pauses, your mind starts guessing why. Are they angry, bored, judging you, or pulling away? In reality, they may be thinking carefully, choosing words, or processing emotion. The mismatch happens because people use their own style as a reference. If you talk quickly, silence feels like distance. If you need time, silence feels normal. In groups, silence can become even louder. A quiet person can be treated as hostile or unimpressed, and that can shape how others respond to them. Then, the social loop tightens. The quiet person feels less welcome, so they speak even less. This matters in relationships too. Some people need pauses to avoid saying something careless, while their partner interprets the pause as rejection. A simple repair is to name the silence. I'm thinking, or I'm taking a moment. A tiny sentence can prevent a whole misunderstanding. The brain predicts what others will do, and it is often incorrect. Your social life depends on prediction. You constantly forecast how someone will react to a joke, a confession, or a request, and you adjust your behavior before the moment arrives. The brain uses past experience, stereotypes, and emotional cues to guess the next move. It is efficient, but it can be wrong. For the same reason weather forecasts can be wrong, people are complex systems. They change with mood, context, and hidden information you cannot see. When the prediction fails, you feel shocked, betrayed, or embarrassed because your mind already rehearsed a different outcome. This also shapes anxiety. You may avoid a conversation because you know it will go badly when you are actually guessing. One way to improve prediction is to gather real data. Ask questions, check assumptions. Notice that you are forecasting, not reading minds. The mind loves to act as if it knows because knowing feels safe. In social life, curiosity is often safer than certainty. You can feel empathy for shapes moving on a screen. Give a few triangles and circuits a simple motion pattern, and your mind will start building a drama. One shape chases, another hides, another bullies, and suddenly you feel concern or anger as if the shapes had feelings. This happens because the brain is tuned for agency detection. It is always asking, is something alive? And what does it want? When motion looks purposeful, the mind assigns motives automatically. You do not decide to do it. It arrives as a story. That story can trigger real emotion because emotion follows meaning. This is part of why animation can make you cry even when you know the characters are drawings. It is also why people can get attached to virtual pets and game avatars. The social brain does not require a human face to engage. It requires patterns that resemble intention. Once intention is detected, empathy can light up, and you start caring about pixels and geometry as if they were alive. A single compliment can change someone's self-story for years. One sentence can land like a seed. You're good at explaining things. You make people feel safe. I trust you. If it arrives at the right moment, it can reshape what someone believes they are capable of. The mind is hungry for mirrors. It builds identity partly from how others respond, especially when the source feels credible. A confirmment can become a reference point, something a person remembers during doubt. It can also redirect behavior. If you believe you are the creative one, you try more creative things. If you believe you are the steady one, you show up that way. The compliment becomes a quiet compass. This works because identity is not fixed. It is a story under construction,
and social feedback supplies plot twists. The responsibility is real. Careless words can harm, but specific, truthful praise can open a door. You never know which sentence will become someone's long-term evidence. We judge ourselves by intentions, but judge others by actions. Inside your own head, you feel the reason behind what you do. You know the stress you carried, the good aim you had, the moment you meant to choose better. So when you make a mistake, your mind reaches for context. I didn't mean it, or I was trying. With other people, you do not get that private access. You see the outcome, and the outcome becomes the whole story. This mismatch creates endless friction. Two people can walk away from the same event with opposite verdicts because each person is grading a different thing. It also shapes forgiveness. You may excuse yourself quickly and condemn others quickly without realizing the double standard. Psychology calls this the actor-observer difference, and it matters because it is fixable. A simple shift helps. When judging others, ask what intention could plausibly sit behind the action. When judging yourself, ask what your actions communicated, regardless of your aim. People are more honest when they feel anonymous. When your name and face are on the line, honesty can feel risky. You worry about judgment, consequences, and being placed into a category you cannot escape. Anonymity removes some of that social pressure. It can lower the urge to perform, and it can make it easier to admit flaws, unpopular opinions, or embarrassing experiences. That is why people confess things online they would never say at a dinner table, and why anonymous surveys often reveal higher rates of sensitive behaviors. The effect is not purely noble. Anonymity can also reduce empathy, which can lead to cruelty. Still, the honesty side is fascinating. It suggests many people are not lying because they love deception. They are lying because they fear social cost. When the fear drops, truth rises. If you want more honesty from someone, reduce the stakes. Ask without punishment, listen without shock, and make room for complexity. Safety can do what pressure cannot. The brain loves novelty, but it craves safety even more. Newness sparks curiosity. It lights up attention. It makes time feel vivid, and it can pull you out of autopilot. Yet even while you chase novelty, your nervous system is quietly asking, is this safe? If the answer feels uncertain, the body contends, and curiosity can turn into caution. This tug-of-war explains why people dream about travel and then feel anxious when plans become real. It explains why a new relationship can feel thrilling and terrifying in the same hour. Novelty offers reward, but safety offers relief. Your brain wants both, which is why it often seeks safe novelty. New experiences inside familiar boundaries. Same cafe, different drink. Same genre, new show. Growth often comes from expanding those boundaries carefully, not by smashing them. If you build safety first, novelty becomes a playground instead of a threat. That is how the mind learns best. One brave step at a time. You can train attention like a muscle through practice. Attention feels like something you either have or you don't, but it can be trained. Every time you notice your mind wandering and you bring it back, you're doing a repetition. Over weeks, those repetitions strengthen your ability to aim, focus on purpose. This is why meditation can change daily life even in small doses. It is not about emptying the mind. It is about practicing the return. Athletes train attention too by learning to lock on to a cue under pressure. Musicians do it by staying with tempo and tone when the room is distracting. Even reading long-form work is an attention workout. Now, since the modern world is built to interrupt you, the fascinating part is that attention training can change how you experience emotion. If you can hold focus, you can notice a feeling rising without being carried away by it. You get a small gap, and in that gap, you can choose. That choice is where self-control is born. Rejection can make people seek belonging in dangerous groups. When someone feels pushed out, the brain goes searching for a door back into community. Belonging is a basic need, so the urge can become intense. A group that offers instant acceptance, clear identity, and simple rules can feel like rescue, even if the group is harmful. Extremist movements, violent gangs, and toxic online communities often understand this. They offer a story that explains your pain, and they offer a place where you are finally valued. Once inside, loyalty becomes the price of safety. The group may demand isolation from outsiders, which makes leaving harder. The frightening part is how human the pathway is. Many people are not recruited by ideology first. They are recruited by connection. This is why prevention often looks boring. Strong friendships, supportive mentors, and inclusive communities are protective factors that can stop the search before it begins. If you want to reduce radicalization, you do not only argue ideas, you also build places people want to belong. Stress can make time feel slower during intense moments. In a scary instant, time can stretch. A car swerves, a glass falls, a voice turns sharp, and suddenly the moment feels long enough to examine. This can happen because stress changes attention. Your brain focuses tightly and it records more detail per second, so the memory later feels expanded. It is like filming at a higher frame rate. When you replay it, it seems slower because there is more information packed inside. Stress also pushes your body into action readiness, which can make each heartbeat feel loud and each second feel heavy. This distortion is not a flaw. It may have helped ancestors survive by giving the mind more usable detail during danger. The twist is that it can be misleading. You might believe an argument lasted forever when it was brief, or believe a person had plenty of time to react when they did not. Time is more than a clock. It is a lived experience shaped by your state. When you're afraid, threats sound louder and clearer than neutral noise. Fear tunes your hearing like a radio locking onto an emergency channel. In a calm state, you can sit with uncertainty in sound. A muffled word remains just that. But in fear, the brain begins scanning for signs of danger. Certain sounds then leap to the foreground. A sudden laugh can register as ridicule. Footsteps may feel like someone following you. Even tone can be interpreted as hostile. This happens because detecting threat is urgent, and the brain would rather raise a false alarm than miss a real one. Your body responds as well. Muscles tighten, breathing changes, and the entire system becomes ready to act. The result is that neutral sound can stop feeling neutral. This shows up in everyday life.
A stressed parent may hear defiance in a child's voice. A nervous employee may hear anger in a short message from a boss. One helpful practice is to notice your state first. When fear is rising, treat your interpretation of sound as a guess, not a final judgment. Calm changes what you hear. Your brain can confuse imagination with perception under stress. Under stress, the line between what is happening and what might happen can blur. Your mind starts simulating outcomes at high speed, and those simulations can feel vivid, almost sensory. You picture the accident, the humiliation, the rejection, and your body reacts as if it is already real. That reaction then becomes evidence that the threat is present. A tight chest feels like proof. A racing heart feels like confirmation. This loop can make people misread shadows as figures, or interpret a harmless sound as a sign of danger, especially in dark or uncertain settings. It can also create social errors. You imagine someone judging you, and you start acting defensive, which changes the interaction. The deeper point is that stress increases reliance on internal models. When the world is unclear, the brain fills the gaps with simulation. If you want clarity, reduce arousal first. Slow breathing, grounding, and checking the environment can help your senses regain the lead. Some people feel others' pain almost like it is their own. For some people, empathy is not only an idea, it is a bodily event. They see someone get hurt and their own stomach drops. Their skin prickles and their muscles flinch as if the impact traveled across the room. This can be linked to strong vicarious responses in the brain's action and sensation systems, which are involved in mapping what others feel. It is part of why you wheeze during a realistic scene in a movie. In highly empathic individuals, the response can be stronger and more frequent. This can be beautiful. It can make people deeply compassionate and quick to help. It can also be exhausting, since their nervous system spends more time reacting to the emotions of others. Many learn to manage it by setting boundaries, choosing environments carefully, and practicing compassion that does not require absorbing everything. The fascinating lesson is that your social brain is not separate from your body. Understanding others is partly a physical skill, and for some it is turned up to maximum. Psychology proves your mind is powerful, but not always reliable. Your mind can build a world from partial data, turn belief into biology, and shape your choices before you feel them as choices. That is power. Yet the same system that makes you adaptable also makes you vulnerable to illusion, bias, and confident error. The brain is optimized for speed and survival, not for perfect accuracy. It uses shortcuts, it trusts stories, and it protects identity. Those features help you function, but they can also mislead you, especially under stress, in groups, or when information is incomplete. The value of psychology is that it gives you a map of these tendencies. Once you see the patterns, you can work with them. You can design better habits, ask better questions, and treat your first impressions as drafts instead of final judgments. The goal is not to distrust yourself. The goal is to understand yourself. A powerful tool becomes safer when you learn its limits. And that is what this whole journey has been about. As we come to the end of our journey tonight, you may notice your thoughts moving a little differently. Now, like a room after the lights have been dimmed, we wandered through the hidden habits of the mind, the shortcuts it takes, the stories it tells, and the quiet ways it shapes what feels real. We explored how memory bends, how emotion colors perception, and how belief can ripple through the body like weather passing through a landscape. Taken together, these ideas paint a picture of a mind that is not broken, not careless, but beautifully human. A mind that predicts, protects, adapts, and sometimes misleads, all in service of helping you move through a complex world. You are not a machine built for perfect accuracy. You are a living system shaped by connection, meaning, and experience. Now there's nothing left to analyze, nothing left to hold on to. Let the thoughts settle where they land, like leaves drifting to the surface of still water. Allow your breathing to slow, your shoulders to soften, and your awareness to gently widen, then fade. If any ideas linger, let them float by without effort. You don't need to follow them anywhere. If you're still awake and feel like continuing this quiet exploration, there will be another video waiting for you on the screen, a place you can drift to next. If curiosity is still keeping you company, and if these calm journeys have become part of how you end your day, you're always welcome to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, rest. Let the day loosen its grip. Let the night carry you onward. Sleep well, and good night.